The 97% saturation problem. Gemini 3.1 Pro just clocked 94.3% on GPQA Diamond, effectively closing the gap on graduate-level scientific reasoning. While lab press releases frame this as a victory, for developers, it marks the point where static benchmarks officially lost their signal. When top-tier models cluster within a 3% margin at the top of a leaderboard, the variance in your production performance is no longer represented by the score. This is the intelligence plateau, where model improvements are still happening, but our ability to measure them with multiple-choice questions has hit a hard ceiling. To understand why your RAG pipeline still fails despite these high scores, we have to look at how these numbers are being engineered through benchmark saturation. The mechanics of benchmaxxing. The delta between lab scores and production reality is currently 37%. This gap exists because of a technical tactic called benchmaxxing, where labs optimize for specific evaluation harnesses rather than general capability. In the April 2026 release of GPT 5.5, OpenAI reported record-setting reasoning scores, while independent audits showed an 86% hallucination rate on the AA omniscience benchmark. We are seeing models that are effectively overfit to the evaluation format. They can solve the graduate Google-proof Q&A because the reasoning steps are predictable within a static context window, but they collapse when those same steps are required in a nonlinear environment. This has forced the industry toward Terminal Bench 2.0, differentiating intelligence via Terminal Bench. Terminal Bench 2.0 shifts the evaluation from choosing an answer to executing a workflow in a live Linux environment. Unlike static benchmarks, it requires a model to use a CLI to navigate file systems, debug dependencies, and manage real-time feedback loops. The current leader, GPT 5.5, sits at 82% here, while the next closest model, Claude Opus 4.7, is nearly 13 points behind. This gap matters because Terminal Bench measures agentic persistence, not just pattern matching. It uses 89 distinct terminal-based tasks that cannot be solved by a single forward pass. If a model cannot handle a real-world DevOps migration or reverse engineer a binary via the command line, its 97% scientific reasoning score is functionally irrelevant to your stack. The interactive nature of this test is finally revealing the true IQ of these models. The hidden noise in agentic testing. There is a major trade-off with moving to benchmarks like Terminal Bench or Humanity's Last Exam. They are incredibly expensive to run and suffer from high noise levels. A single run on Terminal Bench can cost 50 times more than an MMLU evaluation because of the token-heavy reasoning loops required for terminal interaction. Furthermore, a model's score can swing by 20% based solely on the quality of its scaffold, such as the specific terminal tools or retry logic it's allowed to use. This means we are no longer testing raw model weights. We are testing the entire system architecture. Critics argue that these scores are just as gameable as the ones they replaced, only now the gaming happens in the prompting and tool call optimization rather than the training data. The signal under the noise. The intelligence plateau proves that we have exhausted the utility of the static leaderboard. As we saw with the 37% production gap and the rise of Terminal Bench, the next phase of model differentiation is about reliability in live environments rather than accuracy on fixed datasets. For builders and researchers, the implication is clear. Stop using MMLU or GPQA Diamond to justify your model choice. Those benchmarks are now effectively saturated and offer zero predictive value for agentic performance. Instead, look at the delta between a model's single-run accuracy and its pass at 8 performance on interactive tests like Terminal Bench or SWE Bench Pro. The true signal for 2026 is no longer how high a model can score, but how consistently it can recover from its own errors in a real terminal. Watch the upcoming release of ARC-AGI 3 in June. It is the only remaining test where every frontier model still scores below 1%. Subscribe for more.